Hi there, Kimberly Flanagan of Kimberlys Quilts. I'm starting a new project and I'm going to document it all along the way. Couple different things that I'm going to be merging here together. First of all, I'm an Island Batik ambassador and I have recently come across a technique and it is copyrighted and full transparency. It's a process that I learned at a quilt retreat in Indiana from Becky Thompson of Power Tools with Threads. She has a technique called applique. And as a part of that process, you can take a design that is meant to be for applique, something similar like this, and digitize it so that you can actually stitch it out on your embroidery machines as embroidery, as a embroidery file. And you can use your Brother Scan and Cut, which I have, and to create your cut files and make everything line up perfectly. This is not a video on applique. I'm not going to be documenting how to necessarily do applique. I'm just making sure that everybody's aware that that is the process I'm using to create this quilt. As an Island Batik ambassador, I got lots of fabric samples from them. I am going to be using Island Batik fabrics in my quilt. So what am I making? I'm actually going to be making something from my bucket list, which is the New Baltimore Christmas quilt. Had to make sure. I thought I was leaving a word out there. So as you can see, extensive amount of applique on there. I've had this pattern for quite a while, and it's always been on my bucket list, but it's been a little bit overwhelming to me. But since being introduced to Becky's process, I've now decided that I can accomplish this. I've done a lot of smaller projects using applique, and now I'm going to tackle this big one. As a part of my journey, I am going to be documenting it, and I'm going to also be sharing it on my blog. I have a website, kimberlysquilts.com. So if you'd like to follow around and follow along and see how this journey goes, I hope you will either subscribe and like this video so that you'll get notified when the future ones come out, or follow my blog on my webpage and you'll get updates there. So let me get started a little bit about the quilt and why I'm choosing this process. So as you can see, lots and lots of pieces. I purchased the pattern from P3 Designs. She's got lots of New Baltimore quilts. She's got an autumn one. She's got some of the traditional ones. But I fell in love with the Christmas one. As you can see in here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 blocks. And then I've got Santa. And then I've got all of the border. That's a lot of applique. I also have pages and pages and pages of patterns here, as you can see. With each of these, I got the layout. Now, traditional applique would tell you that I have to trace this, and then I have to put it, the traced piece of fusible interfacing on my fabric, and then I've got to do all the things to manually cut that, and then I've got to stitch it down with that whole process that I've grown to hate, which is the, stitch, 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 and rip out and make up a few new 4-letter words, which is one of the reasons I've never tried this. But through Becky's process, you can actually use your scan and cut and scan in the pattern, and you can also scan in all of the shapes. Now, I have taken the time to purchase, at an additional fee, all of the shape files for each of these. Each one of these has anywhere between, say, 75 and 150 shape files that I would have to manually trace, and I would have to manually put on the fabric and cut by hand and everything. By using the scan and cut, all of the cutting's done for me, and I can scan in the patterns and I can then line them up. I quickly discovered that by using Becky's technique that I was going to be spending hours and hours in front of the computer. So while I love the applique process, I am cheating slightly. The reason I'm being transparent about this is I want you to go figure out how to do the process her way, and then you'll find out why I'm cheating just for this project. She has a theory called maintaining the integrity of the base shape. Understand that's very important, especially when you're doing applique projects. However, her process does not allow me to use the magic wand feature within Embrilliance to create the shapes. The other thing is every one of my blocks is 12 by 12, and I want to be able to slightly resize them because I want to change the size of my finished quilt just slightly. So by doing the technique that I'm about to do, it's accommodated my ability to change the size and not have to maintain the integrity of the base shape. So, full transparency, I'm doing it slightly different, so I know if you're a fan of Becky's, like I am, that this might be a little bit different than how she does it. So, let me first start here. I'm going to show you on the scan and cut what I've done to create the file. Then I'm going to go downstairs, take the scanned file, put it in Embrilliance, and show you there how I actually use the magic wand to create my shapes there instead of using her process of scanning in all of these files and then aligning them. Because again, mine is going to be slightly resized. I also do this a lot. I know that there's a lot of people out there that do a lot of the Lori Holt or Amy Bradley designs where you have a shape that's, you know, an applique project that's say 6 by 6 or 10 by 10 or 12 by 12. One of the problems with some of the larger ones is you have to have it the size of the cut files that they give you. By using the magic wand feature though, what if I only have a 5 by 7 frame and I want that cute little applique project, but I want it slightly smaller because I don't have a larger frame, and that's the largest hoop my machine will use. By using this technique, I can resize it and put it in any hoop size that I have, and then it's, to me, accommodating to that challenge. So I'm going to turn the camera around here so that you can see my scan and cut, and then I will continue here with showing you how I scan this in and then taking you downstairs. Just so you know, I'm doing the Partridge in a Pear Tree block. That's what I'm going to be scanning in. It is from the insert of the Partridge in a Pear Tree piece. So I'm going to turn the camera around here. This is the one we're going to be working on today, and we'll get going. Okay, I have my scan and cut turned on here. It's warming up and getting started. I'm going to first start by loading my mat. Okay, from here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to scan. I'm going to scan to USB. And I'm going to say start. I'm using my 12 by 12 mat. My design is no larger than 12 by 12, and so I'm just going to hit start. If my design was larger and I needed the 12 by 24 mat, I would go in here and change it at this time, but this mat's plenty large enough for what I'm doing. And it's going to scan it. I do have a USB in the side of my machine so that I can easily take this to my laptop. Now it tells me that it's saved to the USB and what the file name is. The file name is image 19. So now I'm going to hit OK. Now, if I was going to scan all of these at one time, I would scan the next one and I would continue to add them to my USB. But for today's video, all I'm going to do is work on this one block, which is block 3, partridge in a pear tree. So I'm going to go on pause here and I will see you downstairs at my laptop in a minute. Okay, I'm downstairs in my office. Now I'm on my laptop. I'm going to share my screen here and bring up Embrilliance so that you can see how I actually bring the scan file from my USB. Got my USB here from the Scan and Cut. And now let's share my screen so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to move myself out of the way over here. Now, I'm going to start by, I've just opened Embrilliance, and this is what it should look like when you first come in. I have Stitch Artist 3. So by having Stitch Artist 3 up here at the top, you will see, may or may not see all the same icons that I see because they're all sold as components, and this is the Stitch Artist component. Looks like a little, Becky calls it a sundial. I actually kind of think it looks like paper piecing, but whatever you want to call this is the little Stitch Artist Create Designs option. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pull in an image. Again, I am doing some modifications to the way Becky does it because I'm changing the size of my finished product. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say open. This is the partridge in a pear tree. It was saved as number 19. As you can see, when I first pull it in, it is, let me come in here and make it a little bit brighter so that maybe you can see it better. This is how it comes in because I had to scan it sideways in order to get the entire design. This little blue dot will allow me to rotate it so that it is straight. Now, I do use my grid lines a lot in the beginning here to make sure things are lined up properly. You'll also notice that right here in the middle, this is the center of my applique design. Okay, so I use that also a lot to make sure that I'm on the 0 point. I cannot rely on coming in here and using their center in hoop because it scans slightly larger than what was actually there. So by using this mark here, it allows me to use the 0 on my ruler here and my 0 on the ruler there to make sure that my design is going to be the right size. So I'm going to come back into the Create button, and I'm going to come in, and you'll see right now that it's about 6 by 6. I actually want it to be closer to 10 by 10. So I'm going to make it larger, and then I'm going to move my design. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to move it. So that that little crosshairs is showing up at the 0 and 0. 0 over here. See, I'm off one line, so I need to move it down one. 0 right here and 0 at the top. So now I can come in here and I can look and see this is the outside of my design. It's just at about just slightly over the 5, maybe 5 1/4 here, and the same here. That's about the right size that I want my applique block to be. I can also see here that it's at about 5 1/4 at the top, and at the bottom here, at the bottom of my design, it's 5 1/4 here. So now that I have this process done, I can come in here and at this point, Becky has taken all of the scanned shapes that are the 100% right size for an applique, and she lines each one of these up over the individual pieces. I don't do that. When I have this many pieces, and in this one alone, you'll see that looking at the top here, I have 64 pieces. That's an awful lot of time for me to sit here and continue to just, you know, line them up and rotate them slightly and get everything aligned. So at this point, I will come in here, and now that I'm zoomed in, I can see that I'm slightly off. So I'm going to line it up. It's the size I want. If I had, say, one of those Amy Bradley designs and I didn't have the 6x10 hoop and I wanted to make it 5x7, I can resize the image to whatever size I want it to be. I can make it larger, I can make it smaller. My parents live in an assisted living home, and I make the monthly, I believe they're, I don't know who they're, I make those monthly designs and that are fun appliques. But my mom has a hanger that's 12x12. So I always enlarge it and make it slightly larger than the 6x10 that it by default the pattern comes in. So I'm going to now come down in here, and you'll see that these are in number order, just like in most applique patterns, as to what size they would, or what order they should be in. You have this little icon here called Magic Wand. And the first thing I do is I come in here and I click on that. And I go in the order that these are presented. The first thing is going to be the branch. So I come in here and I click, and you will see that this is the first piece. This is the second piece of the branch, and they are actually putting them over here in my objects pane in the order in which I clicked them. There's going to be no moving around or anything of the various pieces and putting them in number order. I'm putting them in number order by clicking on these in the order in which that they are on here. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to click this one. And you'll see that I have all of these branches now identified the right shape, the right size. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to do this branch. Then I'm going to do this branch. Got to be completely in there. That's where zooming in sometimes helps. Now I'm going to do this branch. And then I'm going to come up here and do this branch. Now I have all of my pieces the exact size that I want them to be in the right order over here for stitching. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to move my design up, and you'll see now that the numbers are now in the cartridge. So I'm going to go in number order so that they show up in my objects in the right order. Number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, and he's actually going to be 2 pieces, and then number 7. And I'm not going to do number 8 because I'm going to put that in as an eyeball using the circle and not do it a little applique. So I'm going to skip that one. So then I'm going to come and I'm going to find my, starting over here, 9, 10, 11. And if you look over here, they're being added, the right size, the right shape. Now I'm going to come over and I'm going to move the screen down slightly. 11 was my last one. Where is number 12? I am having trouble identifying where number 12 is. I do not see number 12. There might not be a number 12. That's odd. So I'm going to go to 13, 14, 15, 16. And I'm going to continue to do this for every one of my pieces. So I'm going to go 20, 21, 22. And I'm going to do this for each piece as I go down through here. I'm going to zoom out so I can find 27. I'm going to move down so I can zoom in because that's a little tiny piece. And I'm going to get 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Now, you'll notice that a couple of these I had to click twice. The reason being is I need the magic wand to click in one of these open areas. If I was accidentally on top of this number, it doesn't know what to do. So it didn't do anything. The way I know that it actually worked is because this black line shows up on top of that piece for the last one click. So now this says I have 42 items. I'm on number 36. That is actually correct because if you remember, I had all of these little pieces here that were the branch that it only has as number 1. So I'm going to zoom back out and I'm going to move this back up and come back down here and move it over. And I'm going to pick up over here with number 37, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Move it down a little bit. I'm going to go 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. Move it down a little bit. Now I'm going to have 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. Move it down so I get the next section. I'm going to do 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, and 64. Now you will see over here in this side of my objects pane that I have 70 pieces. I'm going to stop here because I do not want to infringe upon Becky's process, but now I have all of my line drawings here. At this point, I would come in and I would save my working file and I would continue on with her snapplique process and creating my applique lines, my placement lines, and my actually generating my cut files. But that quickly, I have been able to lay out 64 different pieces and not have to move and alter and rotate or any of that stuff. So I hope that helped you understand how I use the magic wand in conjunction with another process to actually make my dreams of having this new Baltimore Christmas quilt come true. Again, if you want to follow me on this journey and you want to see how it progresses, please subscribe to my channel and follow my blog on kimberlysquilts.com. I'll put the link to it below. And I hope I was able to share something with you and teach you something today. Thanks.